So, here we are, rolling through the heart of countryside. You might be wondering why these sheep are all around. Well, let's just say these guys are more than just a part of the scenery. They're actually the star of today's episode. Let's dive into making some real Azerbaijani food straight from the source. First, we might need to catch the lamb before loading it in the back of the car. Sheep breeding in Azerbaijan is the real deal. It's like the backbone of our farming game, something that has been passed down generations. Folks out here rely on it big time, making a living off the meat, milk and wool. Whenever we had a celebration, my dad would prep a lamb and invite all the relatives and neighbors over for kebabs. Those were some of the best times of my childhood, full of excitement and getting everything ready. Now, I feel like I'm keeping his tradition of hospitality alive. In Azerbaijan, lamb's a key element for almost every celebration, from national holidays to weddings and new babies. During Kurban Bayram, lambs get sacrificed and the meat gets shared with those in need. My family always sends out meat packages around the village. It's more than just food. Lamb takes a huge part of Azerbaijani traditions. Now, let's say goodbye to our lamb and get everything squared away. Our cuisine is deeply influenced by our agriculture. Those vast grasslands shape a strong tradition of raising a livestock, which you can taste in many dishes. What's unique about your agriculture that we can taste in your food? Drop a comment. A good knife is half the battle. Some people might overlook it, but they really matter. They save you a ton of time and hassle. If you're tired of struggling with tough meat or bones, check out our store's selection. We offer quality knives and wooden utensils that make cooking a breeze. Trust me, once you try them, you won't look back. The lamb's meat is much more tender than that of a sheep, so the knife glides smoothly through it. After separating the fat tail, we need to cut through the larger parts, such as the hips, spine, and breast. First, let's separate the shoulder from the ribs, and then cut the foreleg away from the shoulder. Trim the skin carefully to avoid damaging the meat. Remove the insides, which I'll also use later. Now we need a metal wire to insert into the center of the carcass to fix it on the table. We need to use a different type of knife for this part, as the regular knife may cause wobbling. With this knife we will make sharp, pointed cuts along the wire. I'll spread some fat tail on the wooden surface to keep the ribs from sticking while cutting. And then I slice the ribs into medium-sized pieces, each with 3 small bones. And also some shoulder meat. This is one of the juiciest parts of the lamb because of all the fat it has. So when you roast it, the fat melts, keeping the meat nice and moist. The leg is leaner than the shoulder but still flavorful, if it's cooked properly. I often think back to the awesome food from my childhood. For example, my granny used to whip up the best bread in the tandoor. That's the old school clay oven. She'd mix up the dough and slap it right onto the hot, curved walls of the tandoor. Here it is. You can see it has a cylindrical shape. We'll also be using it today for our cooking. I'm getting ready to chop some shoulder meat with a bit of fat tail for our kebabs. First, I'll cut the meat into small, even chunks with my knife. Then I'll mince it finely, rocking the knife back and forth, keeping a steady hand for the perfect texture. While you're checking out my knife skills, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you are always first to see our latest updates. And while I'm at it, I'll also dice up some onions. I'll slice them thin, then cut across the slices to get them nice and fine. Let's grab some bones for our dog. He's been drooling all morning, running around like crazy, waiting for his time. Look at him. One glance at that wagging tail, and you can tell how stoked he is. Mix the chopped onions with the minced meat, then squeeze the juice from the onions to keep the kebabs from getting soggy. Plus, it concentrates the onion flavor in the meat. Add salt, pepper, and paprika to season. Work the meat nice and easy, making sure the seasoning and onions are spread evenly. You want every bite to be loaded with flavor, so don't rush it. Make sure everything's blended just right. Let's grab some food for other critters too. The cat, even if it's not hungry, just copies whatever the dog does. It's like a little competition to see who's the favorite. Now, let's wash our veggies. I have eggplants, red peppers, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Make sure to rinse them well. Time for getting our kebabs ready. Starting from the ribs and shoulder meat, string the ribs and the meat on the skewers, making sure to pack it so it cooks up just evenly. No spots that are underdone or overdone. For the mushrooms, just peel off the skin to remove any dirt and help them absorb flavors better. I love mushrooms because they bring a hearty, meaty flavor and add an extra savory kick. Trim off their stems and clean them up. The cat's found a new way to have a blast. To make kebabs more flavorful, I'll toss them on the skewers with the meatballs for a tasty, chunky twist. The mozzarella will melt and get all gooey, while the eggplants and pineapple will bring some extra texture. I'll make 6 different types of kebabs. First up, thread a mushroom onto the skewer, then add a big meatball. Follow it with another mushroom, but toss some ground mozzarella underneath it. Keep that going for the whole skewer. Now, slice the eggplants and pineapples into big chunks, about the same size as the meatballs. Skewer the chunks with the meatballs. For the onions, cut them in half and scoop out the insides to make a hollow. Pop a meatball inside one onion half, then top it with the other half to make an onion sandwich. This keeps the meatball juicy and adds awesome onion flavor. We're going to do the same with potatoes, just like we did with the onions. Cut them in half, hollow them out, and stuff a meatball inside each one. For the final kebab, we're getting a bit creative. I got some lamb tendons here, super thin, as you can see. You might be wondering what I'm planning to do with them. Check this out. I'll wrap them around the meat on the skewer, so they wind around it in a cool, elegant way. Well, we are ready for the next step. I'd always been hooked on those amazing tandoori flavors and thought, why not get my own tandoor? Operating the tandoor was a bit of a learning curve, but it was totally worth it. You start by heating it up with charcoal or wood to around 600 to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you simply slide the kebabs inside. Gotta be careful because it's very hot. Then cover the tandoor with wet cloth to regulate the temperature and retain moisture. Time to get some grass for the sheep. Feeding them is really important. They need good food to stay healthy. Let's check on the kebabs. They'll be ready in a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, let's whip up a choban salad. This Azerbaijani classic is a fresh mix of chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and sometimes bell peppers. Just season with salt, pepper and herbs, then drizzle with olive oil. It's a perfect zesty side for the kebabs. If you're loving these cooking tips, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our latest updates. And what's a kebab without tandoor bread? To make it, roll out your dough and sprinkle it with some black sesame seeds on top. Brush the surface with egg yolk before baking to give it a beautiful orange color and a glossy finish. The kebabs are done in the tandoor, and that smell is killer. I wish you could smell it. Charred spices and smoky goodness fill the air, making your mouth water and your senses go wild. Let's take the kebabs off the skewers and set them on the tray. Arrange them nicely and put the choban salad in the middle to make it look great. Before putting the bread inside the tandoor, I need to wet the walls a bit. Now this moisture helps keep the dough from sticking to the hot walls of the tandoor, and the bread cooks evenly and comes off easily. The bread is cooked. I want to place it slightly down into the wood ashes to pick up that smoky flavour. Then, let's bring the bread to the table. Let's dig into that freshly baked tandoor bread and pair it with those juicy kebabs. The potatoes are so tender, they practically dissolve in your mouth. soaked with meaty goodness. The kebabs and ribs are melt in your mouth soft.
Super.
Some of our guests are seriously hungry. Hey, everyone, step on it. Those who show up late might miss out. Just kidding, there's room for everyone. The table got cleared in no time, just like that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Get yourself a plate and enjoy your meal with your loved ones. Until next time.
Kanalımıza dəstək olmaq istəyirsinizsə, onlayn mağazamızdan xüsusi bıçaq və ya taxta qablarımızı əldə edə bilərsiniz. Mağazanın linki videonun altındakı təsvirdə var. Super.